So the first commonly missed problem was number 1. At least 5 of you missed number 1, so it's a good one to go over. This one just was testing whether you knew your vocab, right? Whether you knew what an integer was and what a real number was. Can anyone tell me what a real number, let's do that first, what a real number is?
A real number is all numbers that we know.
All numbers that we know. You haven't learned what imaginary numbers are yet, right? The opposite of a real number is an imaginary number. I'll give you an example. Like the square root of -4 is not a real number because it doesn't make sense to take the square root of a negative. What number can you square and get a negative number? None of the ones that y'all have learned so far. The answer is actually 2i, where I kind of stands for that imaginary number. But anyways, you didn't need to know that. So yeah, a real number for your purposes is pretty much every number in your vernacular, every number you know. Now, what is an integer?
Negative, any positive or negative number.
What did you say, Nathaniel?
Any positive or negative number.
Okay, so negative, whole number. There we go. Okay, so integer is where it's not a decimal. It's not a fraction. Yeah, it's like a whole number, but whole numbers are actually the numbers from 0 on, the integers from 0 on. So anyways, not a fraction, not a decimal. So I need to zoom out a little bit here. So when we're looking at Venn diagrams, obviously, if you're an integer, you're a real number. So we need to pick the one where the integers are inside the real numbers. So some of you picked D. That was the most common missed one. The real numbers aren't inside the integers. There is no integer that's not real. Every integer is real. So the integers needed to be fully contained in the real numbers because all integers are real. Once you start learning about imaginary numbers, you better believe they are not going to be integers. All right, we're looking at 23. A bar weighs 45 pounds and each plate weighs 15 pounds. You learned this in Algebra 1 or tested out of it or whatever, but so when you see the word each usually means multiply. So the bar itself weighs 45 pounds. Oops. So that's the y-intercept. You got to take 45. That's what you have to have. But then each plate that you add to the bar, so each plate that you add to the bar is 15 pounds. So if you wrote this in equation form, you'd get y equals 15x plus 45. So immediately we can eliminate C. You want to eliminate B already? 2 times 15 is 30. Okay, so this one, B, is showing just 15x. What about D? 45. Ooh, that has the wrong y-intercept. Look, the y-intercept is less than 30. That one, they switched the y-intercept in the slope. So this is our only viable candidate. Let's make sure it works. 15 times 2 is 30. 30 plus 45 equals, yay, 75. So when I plug 2 into the equation I wrote, I get 75. So 23, the answer was A. 24. A lot of people missed this one. Which of the following represents a proportional relationship? Kind of another vocab word. You had to know, like, what in the world is a proportional relationship? Proportional relationship is when you can multiply one variable by a number and it equals the other variable automatically. I had to Google the proportional relationship because I don't memorize these definitions because I don't teach this subject, but it says the ratio of one variable to the other is constant. So for example, like if I had y equals 1/5 x, that is actually a proportional relationship because I could multiply both sides by 5 and I'm following the rules. The ratio of one variable to the other is constant. Constant, right there, 5y equals x. Now, what we can't do is add any y-intercepts in. Nothing can be added. It has to be a multiplier. So it has to be like 5 times a variable equals another variable. So the problem is when we add something to it, it's no longer a proportional relationship because this plus messes it all up. So for example, A, you're out of the running because the y-intercept is not 0. B, you're out of the running because you have a y-intercept other than 0. Now these don't make the y-intercept very obvious, so we need to actually like find the slope or write the equation of the line. What's up?
Why did you circle B?
Okay. So we can do delta y over delta x and find the slope, and then you can find the y-intercept. The y-intercept of this one will be 0, and the y-intercept of this one will be -2. So the correct answer was C. That one represents a proportional relationship. I think it was 1/3. Y equals 1/3 x plus nothing. So another way to write that would be 3y equals x, a nice, beautiful proportional relationship. There were a couple of problems on your benchmark that wanted you to draw a best fit line, and a few of y'all missed these. So all this is asking, when you see a scatter plot, it usually wants you to draw what's called a best fit line. You can take like the edge of your paper, or you can tear out your formula chart and take the edge of your formula chart. Or when I just free-handed it, I still got the right answer. So beautiful. There we go. Okay, good. So you drew a best fit line. We want to know what the profits would be in 15 months. Go ahead and put that line back on there. That was a good line. Can you extend it a little bit more? You got to go further, guys. 15 months. There we go. 15 months, you just go up and over. So we're landing between 10 and 12. There is only one answer, even remotely close to between 10 and 12. So the answer was C. So draw a best fit line, and then look at your data into the future according to your best fit line. That word proportional showed up again. Same thing. We do not want a y-intercept. We don't want anything being added or subtracted. We want pure multiplication. That's how you get a proportional relationship. There you go. Bad. Bad. Not A. Bad. Not B. The total charge is, $18. Actually, no, you circled the wrong thing. Wait. It's actually 0.1x plus 18. The 0.1 is not the issue. It's the charge of $18 that's the issue. So by process of elimination, this one is D. That one has a y-intercept of 0. Okay, we get it. Okay. This one made me sad. A lot of people missed this one. Maybe it was because of the word not. I hope it's not because you didn't understand geometry, but because of the word not. I hope. Remember, the original one would be like A, B, C, D. The dilation, the second figure, would be A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. Let's read our answer choices. There's really no way else to solve other than to read. The scale factor is less than 1. Was this a growth or a reduction? A shrinking or an enlargement?
Shrinking.
Good. Reduction, shrinking. So the dilation, good. Put a check. Put true on it. Yes, the dilation, the scale factor is less than 1. BC is to B prime, C prime is AD is to A prime, D prime. That is saying the sides are proportional. When you dilate something, are the sides proportional? True. Angle A is congruent to angle A prime. What happens to the angles in a dilation? They remain the same. We got 3 trues in a row. The outlier is that BC is double, B prime, C prime is double BC. No, it shrunk. So B prime, C prime could not be double. That's the one that's not true. The answer was D. Okay, clear it out. All right, a triangular prism and its dimensions are shown. What is the LA? We're about to study this. This is our next unit, actually. What is the lateral surface area? Well, it's actually the next unit because we're going to do 2D and then 3D. So you're not required to memorize this formula ever. You're never required to memorize this. So you go and find it in the formula chart. And it says pH. What does capital P stand for?
Perimeter of the base.
Love how you said of the base. Very good. Perimeter of the base. And what does H stand for?
Height.
Height of the prism. Not the height of the base, the height of the prism. And I'm guessing maybe that's what you did wrong. The perimeter of the base is?
I was stuck on that question forever.
36. The height of the prism is? 14. It's the height of the prism. Yeah.
Then I finally realized they tried to trick us by not standing it up.
True, they didn't stand it up. All right, so what is that? I didn't even calculate that. 36 times 14, 504. Good. D is the correct answer. Another geometry problem that we will study, the volume of the cone. Any of you remember the volume formula?
1/3 BH.
Nice. That's it.
Oh, right.
Or base times height divided by 3. Same thing. Now, you have to be careful. BH. B is a loaded variable, meaning it's not just 3. The base is not 3. Capital B stands for the area of the base. The area of the base, the area of the base. Actually, it might give you a different formula. Let's go look at what formula it gives you. It might actually say 1/3 pi r squared h. It might. Let's go make sure. Depends on what formula was on your formula chart. Volume of a, pyramid and cone. It just gives you 1/3 BH. Good to know. So let's go back to number 40. Okay. So, good. You're already annotating it. So it's 1/3 times pi r squared, because that's the area of the base. The base is a circle. So the area of the base is 9 pi, and then you multiply it times the height. Now, look at the answer choices. Do you see pi in the answer choices? Do you see the pi symbol?
No.
No, that means they pressed pi. So you get to plug everything into your calculator. 1/3 times the pi button times 9 times 12. You throw it all in there. Because they use the word approximate, that's how we were allowed to push the pi button, and you get 113.097. Very good, 113. Almost every student missed this one, and I'm guessing it's because of the word clockwise, because we definitely learned this in class, in my class. A figure is graphed on the coordinate grid. The figure is rotated 90 degrees clockwise with the origin as the center of rotation. What rule describes the transformation? Now, we learned our rules in a counterclockwise manner. That's how they told us to teach it. That's how the textbook does it. That's how when you look up online, most things do it, because you name the coordinate plane in a counterclockwise manner. So it's not like I taught you the wrong thing. I taught you what we were supposed to learn, but this is asking for the clockwise one. So when I taught you the rules, I don't know if you remember this trick at all. To go 90 degrees counterclockwise, you switch and make the first one negative. You switch and make the first one negative. Okay, it doesn't help when we both do it. Okay, you switch and make the first one negative. A negative, negative y would be a positive. If you want to go 90 degrees clockwise, it's the same as 270 counterclockwise. So it would be this one right here. Now, let's pretend you didn't memorize those rules. What you could do is pick a point and then do all of these things to that point. What quadrant should the point lie in if you're going to go 90 degrees clockwise? What quadrant? Yep. Down here, quadrant 4. So you could play with a point, pick a point, do A to it, do B, do C, do D, and the only right answer should be the one where it lies in that 4th quadrant. So anyways, the answer was B. That's the rule. I honestly doubt that they would make you memorize these rules on the STAAR, but you would need to be able to rotate something clockwise and find out where it lands. 44, circle A was dilated with the center of dilation at the origin. Which rule best represents the dilation? I don't even have to look at the graph other than to know that it got smaller. That's all I have to know. It shrunk. This is not a dilation. What's this called? Translation. This is not a dilation. What's this called? Translation. The circle got smaller. So we want to choose the one that made the circle smaller.
D.
D. You're circling the wrong one. Why are y'all circling that one? Stop. 7/2 is bigger than 1. That would enlarge it. The answer is D. We want the one that has a scale factor that's smaller than 1. So you did not mean to circle C there. Well, 45 is next up. Which of the following is not true? Let's talk about what congruence and orientation means. Preserves congruence means I don't change the size, or the shape. So congruence means the size and the shape. Orientation means, what's a good way to describe orientation? It's like the way it's facing. When you slide something, it's still, all the points are still in the same order. They still go in the same order, but when you rotate or you flip something, the order of the points get messed up. The points are not in the same orientation, the same like order, north, east, south, west. That's kind of what I think when I think orientation.
I thought rotation did preserve it. Reflection doesn't.
Well, no, okay, wait. This bounces around between congruence and orientation. Be careful, or congruence, yeah, and orientation. Be careful. No, a rotation doesn't preserve orientation, but that's not what this one says. This one says the rotation preserves congruence. That's true. Rotation preserves congruence. Translation preserves congruence. Dilation preserves orientation, because when you get bigger or smaller, you're not changing the order of the letters, how they're relative to each other, like you said there. Good. You looked it up. So the one that's false is that when you reflect it, it does not preserve orientation. Rectangle ABCD is transformed so that point B is mapped to point B prime. If B prime is at 1, 2, which motion could represent the transformation? So what happened if B prime landed at 1, 2? Trying to annotate. There it is. It could have been what? Which items could it have been? A translation up. Yeah. What else? None of these are translations, so we know it wasn't that.
Being reflected over the x-axis.
Reflect over the x-axis. When you reflect over the x, you change the y. When you reflect over the y, you change the x. When I say change it, I mean change the sign of it. So we know we reflected over the x-axis, so we change the y value. So it was A. This one's another best fit line. Does someone want to draw a segment? Lovely. Which of the following is most likely prediction of the student's grade if the trend continues and watches 30 hours of television? Did this question make you scared to watch TV?
No. They already banned me from TV, so.
There you go.
Oh, banned from TV.
All right. So it looks like it's between 60 and 70. It's closer to 60 if we draw that line a little bit more accurately. It's a little closer to 60 than it is to 70. So you fail. You fail if you watch 30 hours of television a week, right?
I think you watched over 20.